Good morning, West USA, and happy Cinco de Mayo. We are broadcasting live high above the giant piñata, better known as the corporate West USA office. That's Cinco de Mayo, so wheels are completely off this morning, and that's how we're going to get going. But we do want to welcome you to our Tuesday morning webinar. For those of you that have joined us this morning, you are the brightest of our agent family, and we're able to figure out that, hey, we're on Tuesdays now.
Well, it's not like it would be on Monday instead of Tuesday, so you show up on Monday and nothing happens, right?
Yeah. So I apologize if some of you did tune in yesterday, didn't know where we're at. You didn't quite get the message, but we do want to welcome everybody here for our first Tuesday morning webinar. We've got a lot of good things planned this morning. We got Todd here is going to take a look at the numbers. Interesting this morning, we're going to do month's end. So we're going to see exactly how the month of April went. Cinco de Mayo today is today's May. See how that works? We got Home Street's going to be here this morning to give us the Home Street Mortgage Minute. I'm going to give you a 3-pack on who you should network with, the type of agents you should be hanging out with, the type of people that you should be spending time with, and the type that you shouldn't be spending time with. And Michael Hofstetter here, the big Hof's going to be here to talk about open houses. How do we get leads from open houses? How do we maximize the 3-4 hours that we sit on an open house? And, of course, Bob's here to help us celebrate Cinco de Mayo and take us through this morning. Or also, if you've ever wondered what this looks like via video, we are on Meerkat now, and you can check that out. I have no idea what Meerkat is, how you even log in. Bob's got the same look on his face, but we're on video too now, so you can check that out as well. As always, if you have any questions, you miss anything, you'd like a copy of some of the slides from some of our presenters, you can always email us at webinar@westusa.com. We will get you a copy of those slides, answer any questions. If there are questions directly aimed at me, only ask questions that you think I have the capability of answering. All right, Todd, what's going on with how did the month of April look? Because I'm just hearing a lot of talk. We had what's the guy?
Michael Orr.
Michael Orr at the awards gala on Thursday night, and really kind of talked about how we are in the optimistic phase of the real estate market, and do the numbers reflect that?
Well, you know, the funny thing was, looking back at all the numbers we've been purporting over the last few months, his numbers were really validating everything that we're really saying, and that's a nice feeling for someone who does statistics to be able to look at someone like Michael and listen to his numbers and know that the information that we're providing on the webinar is accurate. And I think that's really awesome. You know, it's also a great gut check for me. Of course, Tina Tambor, who is with the Cromford Report, Tina either listens in or she checks our Facebook page for our numbers all the time. And anytime there's a small little tweak or something that doesn't appear right, Tina's always there giving me a call. But this month, yes, Mike, you know, we're going to talk a little bit about April in just a second. Let me just go down the numbers for today on the current sheet here. Looking at 126 days on market is the average active market time. Again, if you look in the lower right-hand side, you'll see how that breaks down by each of the price ranges. So if you're working a particular price range or you're farming a particular area, you know, what a great way to be able to see whether your active status for your listing is accurate, or even for your buyer for that matter. Looking further, we're showing a number of 5.68 months supply. That is distorted because of the fact that if you look at the closings on the top third on the right-hand side for the month to date, you'll see we're only talking about 600 listings, 600 properties that have been closed so far. So the numbers are that particular number's tweaked a little bit. Last week we were sitting at about 3.9. I think that's more accurate, Mike. I think we definitely are in that seller's market. We are under 4 month supply. Absorption rate still averaging about 20 to 30%. You know, on any given week, our average list price is $473,589, which is up again just about another $5,000 over last week. And our average sale price went down to $266,000 from about $273,000. So again, just a little bit of things happening. A lot of it has to do with the fact that, you know, when we're in this first week of the month, that's like why we like to talk about the April statistics, the previous month statistics, because to be quite honest with you, the numbers always get skewed just a little bit when we have such a low inventory count, low numbers. So if we take a look at some of the slides that we have coming up, This is and all these are on the dashboard already, on the My West USA dashboard. If you take a look at these sheets that are up there, this is actually where we get a lot of those numbers that we post on those on the market stats itself. And if, Mike, you want to hit it one more time, we'll go through a couple of the areas that I think are important to talk about today. As far as active is concerned, take a look. The circled numbers are for the month of April. 25,854 units, 29,395 the year before. So that's about 12% less inventory year over year than than normal, and so that's a huge dip. We'll take a look further to the left, if you would, and look under May. You're sitting at 21,453. So I mean, we're eating this inventory up. If you take a look right above that number, you'll see 1,923 new listings taken in the last week. We're averaging about should be somewhere around 2,500. So we're really having some difficulty keeping our inventory up. And that's what's causing us, Mike, to be in that situation where we're back in a seller's market all over again. So if we take a look now at these closed statistics, we're sitting at 8,385 listings for the month of April. 7,600 were closed. I keep saying the word listings. I apologize, everybody. Closed units, 8,385 closed units. The April was 7,633. Again, you can see the increase in the amount of activity this year versus last year. So we are in that. We said that we were going to have a growth in unit sales this year, which will be the first time in 4 years that we've had a growth in units. We've been increasing in sale prices, everybody knows, but again, this is the first time, so this should be a banner year for everybody that is out there. But in comparison to 7,800 last month, but only 7,600 a year ago. Again, punching our button here, we'll go down a little further. Average sale price, the average list price I have highlighted right above the circle, but that's not the real big picture for this today. It's the one that's in the circle, which is the average sales price. Average list price, that's great, but you got people taking $1 million listings. It kind of skews it a little bit. The average sales price, though, that's actual. I mean, that's actually what's closing out there. So the average sale price across the MLS is $266,063. Again, that has been steadily going up. You can take a look at the numbers to the right. A year ago was 252.8. Last month was 256. So again, you're seeing some activity in the marketplace. Is 5.2% increase in the sale price. That's still a good appreciation for the year. Seeing Arizona for many years was averaging about 4.5%. So the final numbers to take a look at is how that compares to our current average sale price this morning, which was $266,013. So that's $50 less than the month end number. But it's just showing that the market's being more competitive. It's showing that the inventory is reducing. It's showing that the amount of pendings are up. So what's it say to everybody? It says that if I'm a buyer's agent, I'm going to have difficulty finding the product that I need for my buyer right now, especially if you're in that under $200,000 market. It's really limited. Good side of that is if you're in that $200,000 to $400,000 market, there's an ample supply. But again, you've just got to do a lot of research because there's just not as much inventory on the market as there was. And then you're not going to get a lot of that negotiation that we were getting. The seller doesn't have to negotiate because there's not a lot of product out there. So you have to look at it from that perspective as well.
All right. So appreciate that, Todd, and thanks for all the work. I mean, these numbers are available to you on the dashboard. So download them, print them, utilize them. You can post them on your own Facebook page and take advantage of them. I wanted to give a little bit more instructions on this Meerkat thing. Again, if you're interested in seeing Beautiful Bob prepare for a webinar, you can go onto our Facebook page at facebook.com/West USA Realty Inc. And there's a link there, and you can just click on it. You log in, and you can actually watch the webinar now via video. I have a face for radio. I only warn you. All right, so moving right along, let's go with Mike's 3-pack on who you should network with. And I always find it interesting when I spend time at the different offices, and I know everybody in this room who spends time in the offices can attest to it. You always see a lot of different agents, and it's always interesting to find out who these agents hang out with, what they talk about, and so forth. So I wanted to just to spend some time because I think it's important for us as agents to really consider who we are networking with, who we're spending our time with. Are we spending time with people that are going to help us be more productive, or are we spending time with people that are keeping us from higher production levels? So the first one is I always maintain you have to spend time with like-minded people. There's the old adage out there that you become like who you hang out with.
That's so true. That is.
The people that you surround yourself with, you will eventually take on their attitudes and perspectives on not only life, but more importantly, business. Attitude is contagious. If you hang out with the negative people in the office, we always have the people in our offices, and if you're one of them, you're one of them. But we always have those people in the offices that focus on the negative, focus on the things that the office is not doing for them, or the company's not doing for them, or the title company's not doing for them, and so forth. And when you spend time with those people, you become like them. You become the complainer. And we spend so much time wrapped around spending time with these people that we forget to realize that, you know what, we're not going to be as productive because attitude, as they say, is everything. So what are those you spend time with? What the people that you're spending time with in the office, when you're sitting around in your local office, what are they talking about?
Yeah.
What are they doing?
You do. There's a lot of comments that are out there, such as what you focus on expands. If you're around those negative people, one of the things is when we say negative people, let's clarify that. We're all going through some stage, some season in our lives. There's something happening. If it was a job transfer, job shift, job change, loss of job, whatever it may be, new real estate, don't feel that you got the support, whatever it is, we're all going through a different stage in our lives, a different season. And so we need to be helping some people get out of that stage of, to realize that they've got to take control, and get out there like hem and haw and sniff and scurry and the who moved my cheese. In fact, you got to do that. But we have to stop comparing our insides to other people's outsides. We see people that are out there and we see them, that we think that they've got it all together. I got to tell you, sometimes the people that look like they've got it the most together have it the least together. Yeah. So that's a good point, Mike.
Yeah,
be cautious about hanging around the wrong people.
And it's true, and it can even go beyond the people that I spend time with in the office. When we sit around, what are we talking about? Are we talking about marketing ideas? Are we talking about the things that we're learning how to get out there and get buyers
to improve
and to improve? Number two, hang out with successful people. Find those agents that are in the office or within the company or whatever who are successful. Because there's a reason why they're successful, and I think in these terms, and you can define success in many ways. I mean, there's personal success, there's spiritual success, but in the confines of what we're talking about right now, we're talking about real estate success. So find those agents that are very successful. Find the agents that are taking listings on a regular basis. Find the agents that are closing deals. Learn how they approach their business. Observe how they approach their day. Pay attention to their attitude and how they talk about their clients and how they talk about the business.
Huge.
How do they talk about the real estate business? Is it, the real estate market's so bad and I can't find any listings, I can't find any clients? Or are you surrounding yourself with the people that are like, okay, they're everywhere and I'm finding the creative ways to get them and I'm getting them, and learn about what they do in order to be successful.
Talk to your office manager if you'd like to know some agents who do have a specific area of specialty that they do. Maybe somebody really specializes at geographic farming, and that's where they get the most of their leads from. Maybe somebody specializes in client parties or any of those types of things. There's 13 different lead generation methods out there, but you've just got, be cautious about doing business, going up to someone that purports to be successful, but they really aren't closing anything. So you really want to talk to someone who can clarify that for you, and I think your office manager is the great one. The other thing I'd just like to say is if you're out there and you have a specialty, so if one of our listeners is doing one of those lead generation techniques and they're finding success with it, I'd urge you to reach out to your office manager, reach out to myself, reach out to the coach. We'd love to potentially consider you for talking maybe for an hour, 45 minutes, 30 minutes at one of our office meetings, one of our training sessions, so that you too can share what you're doing.
And third is asked to be mentored or approach some of these people whom you have classified or defined as successful, people that are positive influence, successful people that you can tell that are doing things and making things happen. Because no matter your production level, I've always found this, and I always say this about anything when people are focusing on the negative. No matter how bad life is, somebody's always got it worse than you. And the same thing with production. No matter how productive you are in real estate, there's always somebody who's producing more than you are. And seek those people out. Ask to spend time with them and ask the questions. And I always say, people love to talk about themselves. You sit down with someone and say, hey, can we have coffee? I'd like to pick your brain because you are obviously successful in this industry. How do you do it, and so forth? And you'll find 9 out of 10 times people will be more than willing to do it because, again, people like to talk about themselves, and you got to play that card.
Yeah, and not everything somebody does is going to work for you, but you got to at least investigate it and ask the questions. Some people like door knocking, some people like direct mail, some people like all sorts of different things. But just because someone's successful at direct mail doesn't mean you will be, or doesn't mean that you can be. Maybe you're wired a little different and you just don't like that, and that's okay. Just go out there and find someone who's doing something that you think you'd like and learn a little bit about it. Mike, that's a great 3-pack today.
Well, I appreciate that, and once again, I do feel bad for Matt Baker, who's going to have to follow that shortly. But anyways, yeah, so it's all about networking. We have to spend time networking and hanging out with those people that are like-minded and have the same attitudes, because, again, attitude is contagious, and you will find when you spend time with those people, your attitude will change and you'll become more successful.
Mike, we've also got some agents in each of the offices that the coaches have been working with that need to be on teams. And I'd love to reach out to people right now and say, hey, if you ever thought about starting a team, or maybe even one person that you want to have work with you as a team and mentor them. Sometimes people just want to go watch you do a listing presentation. Yeah, it kind of puts you on your game, but it also makes it easier because in the consumer's perception, makes it look like you're a rock star.
And I'm starting a team. It's the all-you-can-eat Chinese buffet team. And so what we're going to do is we're just going to travel the valley and eat at all the all-you-can-eat Chinese buffets. I don't know why. And it's really, that's actually not funny because it is Cinco de Mayo. So, but nonetheless, if you're new to West USA, I know many of our listeners, because we've already received some messages, are new to West USA, new to the webinar. And even if you've been at West USA for a long time and are unfamiliar with all the different things that we offer as far as technology, services, and so forth, we want to invite you here next Monday to our next corporate orientation. You can register online through the dashboard and Facebook and so forth. So you want to get signed up. We'd love to have you up here. We're going to take you through everything that is West USA, take you through the dashboard, and introduce you to all the things that you need to know about West USA. Also, following the following week, we're going to start our next round of Pro Start, taught by Marge Lindsay. This is especially if you're new to real estate and you want the understanding of the purchase contract. You want to understand more about doing open houses and take listings and so forth. This is really designed to help jumpstart your career. You can find information about that on the dashboard as well. So it's interesting. It is Cinco de Mayo, and I just laugh knowing that you look like the most interesting man in the world, and
now people can actually see me,
and people can actually see you, and it's with great joy to say Happy Cinco de Mayo to you.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, Matt Baker with Home Street.
I appreciate that. The only thing that resonated from your 3-pack today, Mike, for me was I wish I knew you in high school. Those would be good tips. Those would be good tips from high school.
That would have been. That's actually a great idea. Take that home to your teenage kids.
We will do a whole. You take me to lunch, and I'll tell you all about my high school days.
Lunch, huh? It's always around lunch with you. All right, so let's jump in with some market update on this fine Cinco de Mayo, and I understand why you moved it to Tuesday now. It makes sense. You had to do it on Cinco de Mayo because last Cinco de Mayo was on a Monday.
There you go.
So we needed to keep that going. So maybe next year it's on a Wednesday.
No,
I'm just
don't
kidding.
go there.
All right. So So let's talk about Fed comments. That happened last week, and we sort of broke through some resistance points, and bottom line is rates got worse. And rates have continued to get worse really every day since Wednesday. And when I say get worse, I mean incrementally, right? It's not the rate that changes, right? Rates are always your rate. 4% is 4% and will always be 4%. What changes day over day is the cost to get the rate. So what happens is that rate evolves, right? 4% now, as you can see, is not the conventional loan rate of the day, it's 4.125 because we've got incrementally worse, an eighth a quarter, an eighth a quarter, an eighth a quarter on the cost, that now the cost for a par rate is now 4.125 instead of 4.
Yeah.
And so what you see is that is continuing. We actually broke through some statistical resistance today, and I anticipate tomorrow to be the big news of the day, or really starting of the big news of the week, which is ADP jobs numbers, Thursday's unemployment, Friday's new job additions. So it's a jobs week. It's going to be heavy action Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Expect it to be a little volatile. But if the news comes out in our favor, maybe we get a bounce. If it doesn't, it can continue to slide.
I just want to ask you a question. When you say, the cost of acquiring the loans have gone up, I just want to make people understand the cost around. It's the guidelines. It's the where the money's coming from. It's not Home Street.
Right. No. This is market update. This is not Home Street update. I just want to make
sure people are understanding, because sometimes we say our expenses or the expenses are going up. I just want people to understand we're not talking about Booksman Baker teams or Home Street.
No. And if you look at like any stock market, right? The market goes up, it ebbs up and it ebbs down. It's got red days and green days. It's the same thing in the bond market. I'm talking to you specifically from a bond market perspective, which is what drives interest rates. So this is just like some more probably 200 or 300 level, but when we talk about it, I think as we've done now every week for a year and a half, right, that this stuff will start to resonate, and you'll start to be able to pick up key points that you can use in conversations with your clients as to be the expert.
Yeah, that was mostly for some of the new agents that were out there that we saw come up today.
So let's jump ahead to the did you know that VA has two types of eligibility. They have something called basic eligibility, and they have a bonus eligibility. Now, what that means is that you could lose your basic eligibility and still qualify for a zero-down VA loan. This comes into play on any loan over $144,000. So the basic eligibility for a VA is $36,000. Now, the way that the VA works is that it's $36,000 is your eligibility. You times that by 4. It's basically like a 25% guarantee fee, guarantee coverage. So that equals $144,000 loan.
So you'd say that base is found on the DD 214?
It's actually on their certificate of eligibility. So that's one of the reasons why we want to pre-approve them up front, because what we're seeing a lot right now is previous VA buyers had a foreclosure 2 years or plus or ago, and they've lost some eligibility. In some cases, they've lost their entire basic, and I'm hearing some lenders are saying you can't qualify for a mortgage loan, which is not accurate. You can qualify for a loan, you just can't. You have to qualify for an amount over $144,000.
Gotcha.
So is that a good story on this? It was a couple years ago. It's the only time I had to tell a client to go buy a more expensive house. I pre-approved them for $160,000. They lost their basic eligibility through a foreclosure, but in order for the bonus entitlement eligibility to kick in, you need to go above 144. They went out. I pre-approved them for 160. They went out and found a house at 135. I get it back in and go, wait a minute, I can't get the calculator's not working. I'm like, you need to cancel that and go find a more expensive house, which they ended up doing. But it was the only time I had to tell a client, you cannot buy this house. You have to go buy a more expensive house, right? And so most people don't realize that on the VA part, the eligibility and how that kicks in, it also works for loans. You can do a VA loan up to $417,000. Well, you do that at zero down because you have the bonus, right? The bonus allows you to go to 106,250 times 4, gets you to 417, right? And if you go above 417, you can do a VA loan up to $1 million. You're just going to pay 25% of the difference above 417, which is another great thing people don't realize. So don't, just because you say, hey, I'm a VA buyer and I had a previous foreclosure, does not eliminate them from using their VA eligibility again, which is another component of getting them in, getting them pre-approved. Let's run the numbers. Let's get their certificate of eligibility. But that's also the reason if they don't qualify for as much as $145,000, we need to find alternative solutions, or they need to come up with down payment. So getting them pre-approved is going to be that much more important. Wow. And it's what I talk about in my as part of my loan in process training that I do as part of ProStart. that we go into some of these things in depthly. But so if you ever haven't gone through that Pro Start, you get a plug for myself on that 3-hour in process. You get sort of the mortgage 101 to 301 sort of all crammed into a 3-hour per period.
So is that week after next for you?
It's usually on the it's part of Pro Start, so it would be that 8th, 17th, 18th, 19th, 20th. It's that it's the Wednesday. It's the Wednesday afternoon section of that course. But I would definitely encourage you to do that. And
so now what we're going to all do is all pile up in the car. We're going to head on over to Luke Air Force Base.
That's right.
Right. Get some military people and do some VA loans.
That sounds like a plan.
All right. Thanks, Matt. Great information as always, especially with everything that's going to be happening this week with the jobs market and so forth. Feel free to pop in and to your local Home Street rep in the offices and with every day find out what's going on with rates and so forth. So appreciate it, Matt. The most interesting man in the room has left.
In the room.
All right, it's time for the Hoff. Woo. We need some music.
Yeah, I thought
Some
you guys
kind
had
of
music
intro.
coming.
Yeah, I have to talk
Well,
to
we
the...
got you streaming. I mean, didn't you bring music with you too?
No, I just brought the video. That's all I
Now I have to
today.
talk to the director of agent services about getting some music on that, Nick. Thanks, Nick. Good job,
By the way,
Nick.
that's Nick over there. If you guys can see him.
No.
They can't see it.
Yeah, see, they keep... Never mind.
Gee.
All right, so let's talk about the open house. Open houses are big right now. Well, it should be big all the time.
All the time.
But open houses, I think the biggest misconception, and I have come across agents who have sat on an open house for 3 hours and they're frustrated. I had 15 people come through and nobody wanted to buy this house.
Right.
Okay, celebrate that.
All right. Well, we'll talk about the best practices of an open house, and we talked about the best practices on a listing, and the same thing is true. If you know how to hold an open house, how to run it, it's going to be very successful. And some of the tips that I'm going to talk about today is, and I see it out there, is that agents will post, does anybody have an open house for me to sit? Or they'll scan through postings where there's open house opportunities. And my suggestion to you is that you choose the open house. And some of the best ways to look at that house is that you want to pick a house that's priced right, that's clean. You don't want to sit in a vacant house. You want it to be close to a major street. And the reason I'm saying that is when a buyer walks through, or even a potential seller when they're in the area, they're going to look at that house, and the way that house is presented is going to represent you also.
Absolutely.
So if it's priced right, it looks good, it looks clean, you're dressed right, that's really going to give a great impression on you and maybe a potential listing on top of it. And that's some of the stuff that goes through that we're going to talk about here. My recommendation is Sundays are the number one day to do it. You can do it any days. I've done it many days throughout the week. As a matter of fact, my first probably 4 years in real estate, I didn't do any marketing, no advertising. I just did open houses, and it was my career. As a matter of fact, here at West USA, I was Rookie of the Year one year when I first started back in the early 90s, and it was all from open houses. My recommendation on the best time is 1 to 5. And we'll talk a little bit about time here later on. And once you find that good house, sit on it until it's closed. I mean, sit on it every week. And that's the next portion we're going to talk about is the invite. So in that invite, you found the open house. You know when you're going to do it. You're going to go out to all the FSBOs in the area. You're going to invite them. Expireds is a great way.
That's a great one too.
Call expireds. Send them your flyer. And then the other owners in the area. And the other owners, the way that I like to do is you get the flyers and you go walk the neighborhood the day before, which is going to be a Saturday. And walk that neighborhood, put that flyer out, let them know that you're going to hold that open house. Another great way to do it is, and I didn't put it in there, is Friday beforehand, put an open house sign in front of the house with a little rider on the bottom, or even flyers on it, open this Sunday from 1 to 5. That way when people are driving around, they're going to see that sign and pull those flyers that are off of that. Next, your database. Every time you hold an open house, it doesn't hurt to send out a notice to your database that, hey, I've got a great open house. Can you help me? Do you know anybody that's interested in a home like this? And it shows your successes to your client's database. All right, the next, tour activities. When you're holding the open house on a Sunday, 9 to 5 is when you're going to be working. And the first 3 hours, from 9 until 12, take your lunch between 12 and 1, but the first 3 hours, you're going to tour all the properties that are active in that area. Know those actives. That way, if a buyer walks in, that house doesn't work for them, you can say, oh, that's great. I just saw this house right down the road, and it'll be perfect for what you're looking for. And you'll know it. And as you're going through those homes from 9 to 12, you're going to leave your business card every time. And that's the reason why at the beginning I said you want to do the same house, because you can leave that card there every week. You're going to call and make an appointment to preview that home every week. Even though you saw it last week, look at it again. I want to take a walk through that house again to make sure it's fresh in my mind. I want to make sure it's still available and to know the showing ability on it in case of a buyer comes through and after 5 you can go show them that property. But there's another thing. There's an opportunity that listing might expire. And if you're going through that home on a regular basis and leaving your card and good communications with that seller, they're going to call you. And they do. I mean, they really, really do call you. So that's a great way for you to also promote your listings in the area too. All right. So next, remove the flyers. So you get to the house. You've already done all your work there. Don't leave the flyers out in the sign out front. There's nothing worse than you sitting in the house and watching buyers go by with your open house sign out there. Just pull your flyer and walk away, because a flyer cannot sell the house. You can sell the house by talking to them. Park across the street. Use balloons on your signs out there, and of course I'll let everyone know, be careful of those sign ordinances with each city. I'm not going to go through all those, but make sure you check on that. There's nothing worse than having your signs pulled. And a selling in Fountain Hills one time, I walk out and 8 of my signs were gone because I had them on the wrong corner, and I had to go down to the police department and they give their signs back.
Neighborhood services.
So that's a good question. So depending on the city that I'm going to be hosting an open house in, how do I determine that?
You'll have to call the city.
Mm-hmm.
Call the city, find out what their sign regulations are, how many open house signs you're allowed to have up, where you can put them. That's important. I mean, there's a lot of realtors out there that just don't really care, and they'll put out 20, 30, 40, 50 signs, but they do give tickets on that, and they do take your signs, and, it gets expensive. Yeah. It gets expensive if you lose signs.
Yeah.
Most of the places are called neighborhood services department. So if you just look in the city for neighborhood services, you can give them a call.
Yeah. So make sure you do that. You don't want to have to buy new open house signs all the time.
And if you find the city that is ticketing,
mm-hmm.
find one of your competitors, make a bunch of signs and put them out for them and let them get some tickets, right?
I don't know about that
Okay.
advice. That'll be yours. So I can't do that on a broker side there. But, having signs out is really important, because, we used to back in the 90s, put the ad in the Arizona Republic. Well, it just doesn't pull anymore like it used to. But buyers are out driving around more than they've ever driven around.
Well, that's important. Putting Armless does have an open house section where you can note that your property's going to be open. You can also do that in Zillow and Trulia, and that should be part of your standard regimen.
Yes, definitely. Exposure is the best when it comes to
they're on
open
those
house.
little apps, and they say, show me an open house nearby, like Armless's app, Goomsy's app, Trulia and Zillow's app. You have to have it in there for it to pop up.
Exactly.
It doesn't know.
Yeah, secret agents don't work. Same thing as a secret open house. So promote it as much as you can, and don't think that you're just going to show up between 1 and 5 or 12 and 4, whatever you set your time, and that people are just going to come. So many agents say open houses just don't work for me. I don't pick up people. Well, how much time and effort do you put into it? If you put a lot of time and effort into it, and some of the recommendations here, you'll have a hugely successful open house. There is nowhere that you can go in the real estate business where you can sit and buyers will walk through your door.
It's retail.
Yes.
It's perfect.
There's nowhere you can go. So that's why I love open houses. The next is really important to me. When you're sitting in that open house, to have an item of value. And that item of value, the number one thing is you have to have a website. And on that website, it needs to have a great search for buyers to search for properties. That is an item of value, because the buyers can search. They don't have to be bothered by anybody. They don't have to call you to change their search criteria. They can get on there and search, and you have to have a CRM attached to that so you can see what they're doing, right?
I want to just recommend real quick. We have an app. It's westusapp.com that you need to go to be able to sign up for it, and that app is yours. It's branded you. All those leads go to you, and it's a perfect tool for an open house, because what you can say to the consumer is, do you have a mobile app that allows you to be able to search for properties all properties, all different companies, everything, and they say, no, I don't. All you have to do is give them your text code, and then now they're using your app, and if they ever say they like anything, that lead goes directly to you because the CRM's built into it. It's not our CRM, it's your CRM.
Boom.
Boom.
Shakalaka.
Yeah, that's great. That's an item of value. That's what buyers want. And you have that database, you have that website. And some websites out there have a free market value, connected to that. They're going to want that kind of information, what buyers can look at, Also, I would say bring some of your past listing presentations with you and have them there in case the buyer asks you, so do you list homes in the area? What kind of marketing or advertising do you do? And have that material there for you because they will ask you that. And I can't tell you how many listings I got off of open houses, probably the same, if not more, than marketing and advertising that I was doing. A lot of listings off of open houses in that area.
Well, that's NAR's survey. They said out of every 400 people, 48 people tour an open home, and that you should list with that 4 to 6 people will list with you, and 5 to 7 people will buy with you. That's 12 out of every 48. That's 25%, Mike, if they follow what you're telling them.
It's open houses. It's for an experienced agent or for a new agent. If you're out there and you want to get your business up and running quickly, you've got to sit open houses.
And I would also say, especially when it comes down to the item of value, whatever it is, and certain items you might have to get more creative, but you have to figure out a way to ask them for their contact information.
Yes.
If it is, the mobile app, fill out this card, whatever item of value it is, you have to have some way to be able to get their name, phone number, and email address.
Yes. Yeah,
Don't
and
be
that's
afraid
the
to
next
ask.
thing that we're going into is get into that qualifying questions and talking to that person when they come through. And when the buyer walks into that house, you don't want to be standing right at that door when they come through, unless you have the door locked or something like that. But, you want them to be able to look at the house. There's nothing worse when they first walk in and you're just all over them with questions. And it's not about them going through the house when they first come in. You want to make it about them going through the house. They're there to see their house. They're not there to talk with you necessarily or get you as a realtor yet. They're there to see the house. That's why they stop by. So facilitate that for them by saying, please come in, take a look at the property. This is a 3-bedroom, 2-bath with that many square feet, and this is the price. Feel free to go through the property.
Yep.
And as they're going through the property, you don't have to follow them right behind. If you have a lot of people there, of course, you want to keep an eye on things, but let them feel comfortable enough to walk around that property and take a look at it. And then you'll start asking them questions. And some of the qualifying questions I like in there, do you live in the area? So if I ask them, do you live in the area? And they say, yes, well, then I know right there, maybe a possible listing from this person. Have you been looking for a long time? That'll give me some urgency of where they're at. Hi, how are you? Who put that in there? Have you talked to a lender? Let me know how long that they're on the pre-qual side of that. I was looking somewhere else. I lost my train of thought there. But and then this one, you've got a lot of people training you to use a registry. My recommendation is get to know them first before you work on, the registry. And I hear agents say all the time, well, the seller requires me to do this, or the seller wants me to have you register in. And, most of the time the information you're going to get is not true or valid, and it's going to be a waste of your time to sit there and try to follow up with them. Make that connection first. And then with the items of value, boy, this house, would you like to get some more information of this property if we do a price reduction? Or if I have another one that comes up in this area, could I get your information then? So the best way to get their information is if you're going to give them something of value. Okay.
Or demonstrate it.
Exactly.
Even if you demonstrated it, that would be enough.
Mm-hmm. Have your laptop sitting with you. I mean, we used to search properties right then and there, set them up on a search. That's a great way that you can sit there. I can't tell you how many open houses I've sat at and actually wrote offers on other properties in the area.
And it's establishing trust. If someone walks in the door right away and you are all over them and you make them sign a registry, like you said, Mike, they're more inclined probably to give you false information. Mm-hmm. But if you take the time with them, once you establish that trust level, now they're going to be more inclined to give you the accurate information.
Sure. And another thing I think I forgot to talk about there is another item of value is going to be a list of all the active homes in that area that you could hand out to them. That's going to be like a little booklet that's going to have all your information and all the listings in that area. Customer copy, you print that out,
copy, right.
and they're going to call you to take a look at those homes. There was a while there, and I went through all the training for Floyd Wickman, Tommy Hopkins, and one guy that made me cook little chicken sticks when I was there and cookies. I did all that thing at the open house, I actually baked cookies when I got to the open house, and it didn't work. I was spending time baking cookies and trying to get them out there instead of talking to the client, which is the key. Communication is the key. Talking to them, getting to know them.
People can learn real easily. Just go to a model home. Just go to a new home subdivision and watch. The person wants to come up and make sure that they invite you in, but they don't jump up in your face. They give you an opportunity, a little space to walk in. Usually they even let you go to the model and start looking before they come up behind you and say, "Hey, do you have any questions?"
Because they can only go out one way.
Exactly.
There you go.
Yeah, they've got you just locked in, and then also it's a great opportunity if you sit by yourself. You might want to think about having two people there, because if you did, like I recommended, on getting out there those first 3 hours and previewing all those homes, you could have that second person take them out. Oh, you know
Right
what?
then
There's a
and there.
house we just saw right around the corner. This is a 3-bedroom. That's a 4-bedroom. Let's go out and take a look at it now. And then let's go back and write the offer up on it. So you be very proactive about your open house. It will solidify and get your base going. Get that database going, get the website going, and you'll have a core system. You can't move in real estate. You can't move up and be successful unless you have your core system running, and open houses will get you there.
Yep.
All right, and so last point, visitors.
So
hi, how are you?
Yeah,
I'm fine, thank you.
I happened to look at the wrong spot and saw that there, but we talked about it already. They're there to see the home. Don't wait at the door. Hi, how are you? Is the first thing. How are you guys doing? Instead of saying, real estate, are you guys working with a realtor? That you say for later on. Just remember, in a way, you're a hostess to a point, and then once they see the house and they start having questions, then start getting into your sales, salesmanship and what you're doing. When you're working with buyers, you're out driving around, there's not a lot of sales skills going at that time. But open houses and listing presentations when your sales skills will really, really kick in. So learn how to talk to clients.
One question.
Sure.
Can we assume that they need to talk to a lender?
I think we should always assume they should
Always
talk to a lender.
assume that?
Mm-hmm.
Well, maybe they have the money. What makes you think they have to borrow money to buy this house?
Don't know, but if I ask you, have you talked to a lender yet, then I'm going to know whether they need to talk to a lender.
Why would I?
Right. Okay, well then, so you must have cash, sir.
Yeah.
Then I definitely want to show you a house.
Yeah, and that's something even a whiteboard can handle. I've gone into a number of spec homes, and the new home salespeople have put on there what the finance terms are, what today's finance terms are. That's just another item of value that you can provide. You could even have your lender's cards there, your lender's trifolds there, or hey, if you need to have your lender there.
And whatever you give out,
Mm-hmm.
make sure it's got your name and number on it.
It's got everything your name and number on.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, this is great stuff. I just and back to my earlier point, I think sometimes the agents get the misconceptions that they're sitting on an open house to sell that particular house.
Mm-hmm.
You may.
And funny story, I sat my first open house in 1994. I worked with Todd, and I sat it open on a Sunday. I got my license on a Friday. I sold that open house on Monday. So
Wow.
as you can tell, I was hooked on open houses because I made like $3,500 my first weekend out, and that was shortly after I got out of the military. And that is the only open house I've ever sold in my career. The rest I've sold every other house around it.
Now, if we can only get you to get hooked on phonics,
Yeah,
and we'll work on these points. Hey, I appreciate it, Mike. This is just great stuff.
Yeah, that's great.
And it open houses. It's a business. It is a method of finding buyers and sellers, leads. Everybody who walks in that house
Mm-hmm.
is a potential lead, and this is definitely a business practice. And
Yeah, I would just also recommend that people go talk to their coaches if they, in the offices, and learn how they may be able to help you become a better open house agent.
All right. Well, appreciate that, Michael. All right, Bob, you are on camera. Wave. People are tuning in. People are
Why
watching
would
you.
I wave? There's nobody behind the camera.
that is
I
true.
think logically here, Mike.
All right, Bob, help us stay out of trouble.
And one of the things that Michael was talking about was Tommy Hopkins. He had something of value that he gave you too, a half gallon of ice cream, because that made you go home because it starts melting on you. I always liked that story.
That is actually good.
Yeah. Some of the things going on. I've been moving for the last couple of weeks, and everything turns into a dead end when you try to call somebody, like the newspaper and all that stuff. Nobody will talk to you. You can't get anybody to speak with you, and you send them an email, they still won't talk to you. They won't do anything. And so I've got an issue with the newspaper and waste management. And then I called the doctor yesterday. I thought, hey, maybe I need to get a little checkup here. And he says, we're experiencing high volume. No, they're not. That's customer service, and that just drives me bats. But customer service is so important. I even brought the book here called Raving Fans. It's one of the best books you'll ever read on customer service. And one of our folks actually sold a house or listed a house this past weekend, and the people called him up and says, "Hi, Bob and Mary Millard from our Mesa office. It's been 15 years since we talked to you, and you sold us this house we're in." They said, "Oh yeah," because they've been sending a newsletter to them for 15 years, keeping in contact. And prior to that time, it was 10 years prior to that time they had sold them the house. So they keep in contact with these people. So they listed their house the other day and said, we also want to buy another house. Wow. Keep in contact. Take care of people. And Bob and Mary are super at that. They're the people that went to Hawaii, sat down waiting for an airplane on a bench, and somebody sat down next to them. They got to chatting with him, and they found out that he's got some property in Mesa over here. So Mary handed him her card and says, if you get to Mesa, come on over and we'll give us a call. We'll have a cup of coffee. And several months later, this fellow from Hawaii that was sitting there in the airport came to Mesa, and the result was 7 sales for Bob and Mary Millard because they handed out their card. So if some of you folks out there get discouraged, especially the new people, wondering where you're going to get some business, really follow up on these things. Make sure you pay attention to people, and they'll come back to you if they think you're worthy of it.
Who's the author of that book you mentioned?
This one is Ken Blanchard, who made a lot of one-minute manager books, and Sheldon Bowles was on it with him. And Harvey McKay has put the forward in here. This is just a great book. And here's what it says. Here it is in a nutshell. Service is so awful, customers expect to be abused. Like when I called the newspaper, I expected to be abused, and I got it.
Oh, fun.
Cold food in restaurants, dirty restrooms, late deliveries, rejected parts, lost orders, lazy stuff. Bottom line, people expect bad goods and rude service. Give them junk and they're not surprised. Just what they expected. As long as the abuse isn't any worse than what they expected, they'll be back for more. They're not upset. Do a survey, and they'll say they're satisfied. Yeah, I've done that myself. They say, are you satisfied with service you got here? Yeah. I kind of like the people in a way, but I was not satisfied. But I said I was. Well, that's not helping things. They're only satisfied because their expectations are so low and because no one else is doing any better. So there you go. And I like to see people like Bob and Mary and several others. I mean, they're not the only ones. It just happens to be that this is a story that we came up here with today. One of the things I wanted you to speak on, Mike, while you're sitting here, is Facebook. We don't want to get too connected in with Facebook sometimes. If you got a comment on that, I know you handled one just beautifully the other day, where there's some
Oh,
bad
oh,
things
you mean
going on.
making comments? So yeah,
Making comments on Facebook.
yeah. So we had a broker issue where we had one agent making bad comments about another agent.
Yeah.
And I just heard another one came up again with another company that Dale's working on. So just remember, if you're out there, you know, we're agents. We're all part of the same board. We're all working together. And if you have a beef or you got a problem, social media is not the way to do it, because that is an ethics violation, and we had 2 of them.
Yeah. Then the other one I got just this weekend, the broker told me about this. During this riots in Baltimore, one of the guys from here, from another firm, not with us, started going back and forth with somebody else on Facebook, and it got pretty nasty after a while. And the CEO of this company, based in Washington, called up the broker here and said, I'm going to give this guy a call, but 5 minutes from right now, I want you to fire him. We do not want him in our company because of these caustic things he's saying on Facebook. So be real careful what you put on Facebook. Make it nice stuff. Okay. I'm going to take off after I get done here at 1 o'clock. I've got a webinar I'm going to listen to on homeowner flood insurance affordability act, and I've signed up at where did I sign up? AAR, and they're going to replay this, I believe, after it gets done. But I'm going to catch it. It's a 1-hour gig, and I'm going to listen to it today, and I'm going to take notes on it. And here's what it has. Flood insurance changes fact sheet. Number 2, homeowner flood insurance affordability act overview. And then map changes and flood insurance as of April 2015. What property owners need to know. So these are a lot of things that we as agents need to know something about it, or at least where we can direct people to get more information. I've got about 8 or 9 pages of stuff that I've got for today's webinar. And if anybody wants these pages to see what I've got, you can certainly get them by sending an email to bob@westusa.com, and I'll send them to you. How the April 2015 program changes will affect flood insurance premiums. Whoa, we need to know that. Here's the entire overview. It's about 5 or 6 pages of the Biggert Waters Flood Insurance Reform Act that the president signed. And this will affect many people in the valley here because there's a lot of flood areas, especially I think Scottsdale's got a bunch of way out there, and different places where we go, there's flood areas. And of course, with the big river running right through the middle of us here, we need to know these things. So I'm going to catch some of this. I'm going to make notes on it, and I'll pass out any kind of information if somebody wants it. I'm happy to do that for you. Here's another one. Somebody sold a house with a, what's it got here? It has a purchase of home shall be contingent on a buyer's acceptance of solar panels. Okay, that's always fun. Now what's happening here is the seller will take the solar panels with him onto his next house, or he'll leave them there for somebody to assume the lease on them. Well, wait a minute, the fellow that's buying the house has to qualify for the loan. There is a loan on this one, plus this other solar panel lease. And how do you write something like that? Oh, for crying out loud, call your broker, please. Let us help you with this. This is wild stuff. You should see what's written here. And this was an outline that the agent wrote up, and I helped him with it yesterday. I think we got it done. I hope so. And the buyer really, really, really wants that house. So I told him, why'd you just take the panels off and sell it to him without them? Let the buyer go get panels somewhere else. He said, nope, he wants these panels. So That's what we had to deal with yesterday afternoon. And here's another one. One of our gals went out to get an inspection. Actually, she's got the listing, and so the buyers want to do an inspection. So she went to the house, and she waited there, and then they came and told her, the buyer's agent, it said they did not want me to be there during the inspection. And our agent says, I told them I always represent my seller at the inspection, and they insisted that she leave. The home inspector said he did not like my attitude when I first came there and said I had to leave. What? What do you get off telling us to leave? So that's a strange one, and we'll be working a little more on this one. She did leave, but she wrote it up for me and sent it to me. That's a weird one. Then this morning I had one where somebody says a warranted item is the little valve on a not a furnace,
Gas
but
fireplace.
a gas fireplace. What in the heck? They want that valve turned on, the pilot light turned on. Well, do we have to do that? They put it in the Binzer. So Mike and I talked about it this morning, and it sounds like we don't have to do it, maybe. But on the other hand, could they cancel the transaction? Probably, because we didn't turn it on. Well, in order to turn one on, I found this out because I just got a house that's got one. I have to call the gas company to come back out there and turn it on. Strange. So I don't know about that. That's one of the first times I've run into one of those things, and it's really hot if you leave them on. Here's another one that I got. One of the fellas wrote a lease on a property. Well, he didn't write the lease, but the listing agent wrote the lease. And actually in the MLS it says we're going to get free, all kinds of free services. One of them be garbage service and some other services. There's about 4 or 5 different services. So this guy on the other side of this wrote this lease up and left all those services out. So our client, who is the tenant, called our agent and said, well, I'm not getting these services. So he says he was going to sign this lease. Can he rely upon the MLS to get these services? And so this fellow's a new agent, so he doesn't know. I said, no, you can't rely on that. Your tenant is not going to get this stuff. So tell him don't sign that unless he is okay without these items and do what he wants there, but he's not going to get these items unless they're written in there. So I don't know how it really worked out. I got to call this fellow today and see how that all went down.
All right. Well, appreciate it, Bob. We are approaching out of time.
What are we approaching? Another day already?
Yes. We're approaching the second Tuesday morning webinar, and then we'll have a Wednesday morning webinar and so forth. But we want to thank you for those of you that joined us on Meerkat. Now that we're kind of doing this video thing, kind of cool. Got a lot of great comments about that. True story. I will leave you with this. Back in my days when I was doing fill-in duties for KFYI, I was doing the Mike Broomhead show, and after a couple days, and in between commercial breaks, guys do what they do. They get up, they adjust, so, what things, you pick your nose, all kinds of things. And then about 3 days in, we got a text message saying, this is being streamed live. Had no clue. Well, folks, as usual, please like us on Facebook at facebook.com/West USA Realty Inc. We have all types of and all kinds of great information for you. So if you haven't liked the page yet, do so, and check back on it a couple times a day, because we're always posting great things on there. And we'll leave you with the quote of the day from the great John C. Maxwell. A leader is one who knows the way, goes the way, and shows the way. Folks, have a great afternoon, and go out and sell a home.